Hello, 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 and welcome to another Monday Night Live with RVing to Alaska.
Oh my gosh, it's November.
Here it is, and you know what's here?
Snow.
Winter time.
It started snowing yesterday morning and it has not stopped.
But it hasn't got accumulated that much. There's only like maybe 2.5, 3 inches. So not a whole lot right now, but
Wonderful.
it's getting there.
I just want to real quick get a volume check. If you guys can hear both Gary and I all right, can we get some thumbs up or some love on the stream there? I see people are chatting away.
Yeah, we're continually trying to evolve and make better and improve our attempts at this live stuff. So I think we're doing okay. This might be a better improvement tonight than last week, or well, 3 weeks ago. It's been a while since we've been on here.
I see a couple. I actually see quite a few familiar names popping up on the old chat. We've got family members from my cousin Jen and my and always mom. Hi, Mom.
Mom's always there.
We've got our moderator Madison on board. He's in there. He's everyone's saying sounds good, perfect. I think you just have to eat the mic.
I just got. Well, I won't scare you guys that much.
All right. Well, tonight we have a lot of fun things. Well, it's what everybody stresses about.
It's a big stress.
It's
it really
a big
is,
stress.
and it should be.
And then once you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, why did I stress that? But we're going to talk about crossing international borders. And we're going to talk about both Canadian and the United States because, believe it or not, sometimes you get a harder hassle at the American border, especially for U.S. citizens. So
it's sometimes it's not that easy to come back into your own country, which is kind of strange, but that's how it is.
We've had a boarding in Canada once, and a really
an in-depth questioning session, and I almost got to the point where it's really none of your business, sir. But I held back, and I didn't go that far.
And that was at the U.S. border, coming back after our summer in
that
Alaska.
Was lower 48 border.
So we've got some topics that we're going to talk about. And then not next week, in 2 weeks on November 20th, we're going to dive into more of Canada, specifically what you can expect, exchange rates.
Expect as in traveling through Canada.
Exactly. Dealing with their money system and ours, and where to get your money in advance if you want to. All that stuff we'll answer next time. But today is basically about crossing borders.
So you're driving, you're doing your adventure from wherever you are in the lower 48. You're coming from Florida, Texas, Minnesota, Montana, wherever it might be. You've got to get to that U.S.-Canadian border to start your journey. And there's a lot of border crossings to choose from, and that does play into how you may be treated at the border as well.
It can. A lot of it is your own attitude.
Well, that's the most of it. But the borders on the West Coast, the Sumas border crossing and such, are generally a lot more volume going through there. Sometimes people think a lot more volume means they're going to just kind of let you go.
It's a little more scrutiny.
Not the case. They're scrutinized a lot more there. So Sumas might be maybe not your first choice, but maybe a Central Washington or a Northern Idaho crossing or something like that.
I like the mid-sized border crossings, such like a Soyos in Central Washington. Idaho, you really only have one choice, Eastport, and that was a fabulous crossing for us.
But that one's also only open certain hours.
No, Eastport is 24 hours.
Okay, Eastport is 24. Okay.
And that's just north of Bonner's Ferry. And then over in Montana, we've also had experience at the Sweetgrass border.
That was a very easy. That wasn't easy. That
wasn't easy.
That was our COVID crossing.
But that was during COVID, so that was a whole different situation. But one thing first I want to talk about is documentation. And by the way, if you guys have questions whatsoever, please drop them in comments, and we will go through and look at your questions, and we'll pop them up on the screen and answer them. And I'll try to glance after each topic, so you don't have to wait to the very end if you don't want. And then, Gary, try to remind me to do that.
Yes, I'll try to remind you to do that. Sorry, just checking other stuff over here on the other side of the world.
So, documentation. A couple things. You're going to want to make sure that all your documents are in order and not nearing expiration or have already expired. Also, you want to make sure that your documents are good 6 months past your end crossing date. So we're talking like September.
Your September, October date.
So you want to just make sure you are as far in advance caught up on all your documents. So check your passports, check your driver's licenses, all that. Just make sure that it's not going to expire during your trip or shortly thereafter.
And if you are getting closer to expiration, take care of that sooner than later, because sometimes those processes are kind of lengthy to renew your passport or your driver's license or whatever it may be. Do that as soon as possible. Maybe after the first of the year, that's going to be your goal, to make sure your passport, your driver's license, and all other documents are up to date.
I do know, like right now, passports are running anywhere between on like a short time frame is 90 days, which that's a pretty big time frame, and it could be as much as 6 months. So if you know you're going, or you think you're going to go and your passport is about to expire or expired,
jump on it. Wow.
Get it done. And it's good for 10 years.
Right.
A couple other things too. A lot of people, I know the government is pushing everybody, all the states, to go to a real ID. And real ID is not an acceptable form
not a border crossing
of
ID.
border crossing by land. It is a TSA domestic travel flying document. So I know we've had trouble just crossing into Mexico and just walking across the border. And a friend of ours had his real ID, and
they didn't want him back. Didn't want to let him back in.
Well, they let him in, but it's going to cause some extra scrutiny.
Right.
And a lot of things too. Yes, you can enter Canada with a birth certificate and a government issued ID, but you are going to get extra screening and scrutinization. Canada really, really, really prefers a passport card, or an enhanced driver's license, which, by the way, only I think 8 states issue those.
It's just the bordering states that would issue those.
And it's not all bordering
No, it's not.
states either.
It would include some southern border states, but only a few northern border states.
Correct.
They actually have continual trade, or hopefully, how do you want to say, states that would participate in working back and forth, or a lot of trade and commerce back and forth.
Exactly.
Yeah. New York, California, I think Washington is one of those states. So,
Yep.
not positive.
And another thing too is, like we were saying, the U.S. side is a little stricter, believe it or not, than Canada with your documentation. So just make sure. And by the way, down below in the video comments, I have put links to the Canadian Border Service Agency, as well as the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, where it can get you to link off to those official travel sites or government sites.
And we always want to stay on the official sites because they generally have the most up-to-date information.
Exactly. And we, as much as we say we're official, we are not as official as the Canadian or U.S. government. So they are the final word. We're just helping you get there.
Although you do, when you pass information, you do vet that information as to where it had come from to ensure that it is an official release and the information is correct that you're passing.
True. And I try, that's my main job with this group page, is to make sure that we are giving you strong, accurate information. But I will always say, go to the official source for 100% verification, because I am not 100% verified.
I mean, I kind of verify you, but well, that's just me.
Well, I'm glad you take me at my word, and most people do. But again, I just want to say, to keep ourselves, our CYA, that those are the official websites you need to go visit, and I've linked them below.
Good for you.
Okay, so American citizens.
Oh, good job.
Inside joke. I've had trouble with that word all my life
She got it first try.
because I'm cognizant of
Oh,
it.
almost.
Close. Okay. American citizens. This is what you need to enter Canada. And yes, I'm going off my cheat sheets.
Well, it's an official document.
And by the way, I see Linda is asking what are the requirements about pets, and we're going to cover that soon.
Later down the
It's
road.
coming tonight. So, okay. American citizens. Passport, not required, but strongly recommended.
Suggested.
Alternatives are paperwork that shows proof of American citizenship. Examples include a birth certificate, certificate of citizenship or naturalization, plus a photo ID, certificate of Indian status, plus a photo ID. Another thing, too, about Canada, you no longer need to use the ArriveCan app.
Right.
You can use it. It may speed up your process at the border crossing. It's still available. Just make sure you go online and get the proper app from the CBSA, just because there were a lot of apps trying to spam people during that particular time we don't like to talk about anymore. Canadians, well, come on, Canadians, you know what to do to get into your country. And then entering the, sorry,
Whoopsie.
microphone in the way. Canadians, sorry,
Where you at,
getting into America.
So we've crossed into Canada. We've done our 2 weeks or 3 weeks in Canada, enjoyed the beautiful country, and now we're approaching the Alaskan border,
And
which is
again-
not a state border entry. It is a international border crossing.
Again, we're just talking about documents. So, American citizens, a passport, a United States passport card, a trusted traveler's card, which is Nexus, Century, or Fast, a global entry card, or an enhanced driver's license, or an enhanced identification card.
Yeah.
Military ID or merchant marine document. If you are traveling on orders, you must be traveling on official orders or maritime business, respectively. Oh, I guess for the military ID.
For the military or the merchant marine ID.
And we do mention that because I know we have a lot of members that are PCS.
PCSing. So traveling,
They're
on orders to move from one
transferring
location.
bases, and they're either coming up here or going back down to the lower 48. Enhanced tribal card. Family members over 15 years old must still present passports. So if you are traveling with teenagers,
Get the
get
passport
them
going.
that passport.
Yes.
Children under 15 may, of course, present a passport as well, but there are also the following options: a birth certificate, which is an original copy, a consular report of birth abroad, a naturalization certificate. And the rules also apply for children 16 to 18 if they're traveling with a group. I don't think that would pertain to anybody here. But
Not necessarily. Yeah.
if you are traveling with, say, your grandchild, you do need fully documented, notarized letter from both parents that you are authorized to have said child. If you are a single parent traveling with your children and the other parent, married, or what am I trying to say, guardian or not, same thing. You need to have a notarized letter stating that you have permission to take the child out of country or into Canada.
I think that would be more of a situation where you're not the primary guardian of the children.
No. Even if
Really?
you are the primary guardian, and they want documentation.
Right.
So take your divorce decree, take your parenting plan.
I don't have a truck big enough for that.
Wasn't
Sorry.
expecting that. Well, you only have 2 more months, so you need to worry about that. But sorry, his youngest is turning 18. It's just blowing our minds.
Yeah, crazy.
But you want to document and CYA yourself as much as possible if you're bringing a minor, regardless if it's your child or your grandchild, the missing parents, it needs to be documented. If they're deceased, bring a death certificate. I mean, Canada is serious about child trafficking, and that is why I say just to cover yourself, have everything in order. Non-U.S. citizens, basically, passports.
I would think passport's probably your primary mode of entry.
Yeah. And again, all this information is on the official websites. We just want you to be aware of, where something like the minors, or maybe you're traveling in someone else's vehicle. Say you're taking someone else's vehicle, you need to have that notarized too in a letter saying that you have permission to be taking that vehicle. Say you rent an RV from your brother and you're going to take his RV up for the trip for the summer.
Or you have your good friend drive your truck up for a specific reason. Have that documented.
Yep.
Say, hey, this guy has my permission to drive my vehicle through Canada on these dates, and this is our start and end point.
Yep. Okay, moving on from identification, you want to make sure you also have your insurance paperwork up to snuff, and make sure it doesn't expire in the middle of that trip. Again, the other thing you'll want to check is make sure you have coverage in Canada.
Right.
Most policies
Most will.
do. It used to be that insurance companies would give you a separate card just for Canada. And then some companies went away with that. And so what I always recommend is have your portfolio with you and have it in a file just in case something happens, that you have all your declarations so you can show, yes, I have coverage in Canada.
Coverage in
Here are
Canada.
my coverages. Here are my limits. And just make sure CYA.
Yep.
Always.
And also, vehicle registration is very important. You're going to be on a trip for 2, 3, 4 months, and if your vehicle expires during that time, it's probably in your best interest to register your vehicle to get the new tags or tabs for it before you leave, and bring them with you, or stick them on, however you want to do it. But just make sure you don't expire while you're gone.
When we lived in Washington, our tabs were always due in July. So we would go in April and say, I just want to renew early. They had no problem. And we just stuck the new tab on when the new month was.
Yep. When it was needed.
When it was needed. Yeah. So let's talk about actually showing up at the border. How do you act?
Oh, I got to take that off. Sorry about the hair. I'll take the sunglasses off too, and I'm going to just sit here with my hand kind of visible, and do exactly what the border agent is asking you to do. Pull up, roll down the window, turn off the engine, apply the air brake or parking brake, whatever it may be, and just be as courteous and nice to those people as you can, and truthfully and honestly ask those questions. Now, you don't have to give them more information than they're asking for. Just give them the information that they require. And that should be enough. They're going to ask about alcohol and tobacco and firearms and all this and that. We always cross the border with more alcohol than what they said we could have, but we self-declared, and we told them it was for our personal use while traveling through Canada into Alaska. We didn't have a problem with tobacco because we didn't smoke. Firearms, it's a whole different situation. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but make sure you declare them.
Another thing, too, is don't be chatty.
Hat back on. Sorry, hair's horrible.
Don't be chatty. Yes and no answers. Answer exactly what they want to know. Do not provide extra information. Sometimes that will just get you leading you down a rabbit hole
more
that
questions
you don't want to go to.
Yep.
So another thing too, all occupants in the vehicle should have full attention to the border agent.
The driver is the primary contact person. The passenger shouldn't be yelling over the shoulder.
No. And also, before you arrive to the window, the driver should have everyone's documents in his hand, and he will hand them. So you're basically helping that border agent process you. You're helping him by him not saying, okay, well, I need her ID and I need the kids in the back and blah, blah, blah.
Have it all ready 5 miles before you get there.
And then everyone just pay attention, make eye contact with that border agent, and just let the driver do the talking, unless the border agent specifically says, ma'am, what is your plan? And then
go about the answers. You do have to answer them if they do ask across to your passengers.
Yep. One other little tip I might say too is, if you do not know your license plate numbers, put it on a little sticky on your dash, because that is a question that is asked regularly by the border agent to the driver. What is the driver's license of your plate?
I want to add just a little bit more to that, not pertaining to border crossing, but just in general. Have your license plate number, the height of maximum height of the vehicle, excuse me, the width, length, and how much you weigh. Have all those dimensions available to you, because you'll be crossing through bridges, you'll be going through tunnels, you'll be going over maybe some restricted areas. So just know what your weights and measures are.
Sounds good.
Excuse me.
You okay?
Just kind of got to me.
All right. Another thing to let you know before we move on to pets and other topics is, we touched on traveling with children. I also want to touch on past DUI convictions or other felonies or even misdemeanors that may be on your record that you may not realize could hamper your ability to enter Canada. If you have any sort of conviction, I would highly suggest going to the Canadian Border Service Agency's website and figure out what you need to do, because there is a process. Now, keep in mind, the U.S. border and the Canadian border, they share their criminal databases. So if you're going to just pull up there and think, maybe you even forgot, maybe back in Vietnam, you got a disorderly whatever, slipped your mind so long ago, that could pop up and ultimately cancel your trip.
Or your 18-year-old kid going from wherever, going up to ski in British Columbia or something like that, and you cross the border and you forget about it, or you had, I'm sorry, back up a little bit before then, you had a DUI at 18 or something like that, and you forgot about it.
And you're 60 now.
And now you're 60, whatever it is, you're going across the border. That could come back up on your record, and it probably will come back up on your record. So just be aware of that. I mean, there's ways around it, but you have to follow the process that the Canadian Border Patrol puts in place.
And what that is it's a temporary resident permit, basically kind of like a trip permit. It's a one-time allowance. So that might not be your best, because you're going to be going through Canada twice, right? You're going up and you're coming back down. Or you file for rehabilitation. So that is a process that can take you a while. So if that is something that affects you, I would start looking into it now. And also, make sure everyone that you're traveling with complies clean as well. Yeah. Just because you're not driving doesn't mean you're exempt from this. It could be anyone. And if you try to hide it and lie, or if one of your passengers tries to hide it and lie, you could get in trouble as well. So we don't want to get you in trouble.
No. So be aware of those previous convictions if they are there. Do your due diligence to work around them so you can get yourself legally and safely through the border, both entering and later exiting Canada. Well, entering again from Alaska into Canada.
Correct. And I believe the
So-
same thing. If you have some convictions on the Canadian side and you're trying to enter America, you could be having some issues too. I'll be honest, I didn't research that as much because 95% of our
problem.
followers are American citizens.
And I was just going to say, you know, this is something that we have not had any experience with. We've heard a couple of stories from some of our past members, but we don't have any experience with this really personally at all. So do your investigation yourself, do your due diligence and research yourself.
Yes. We do have a question here from Ronald.
Oh, good.
Ronald Osteen asks, I've heard that there's different limits on cash when entering Canada and Alaska. Anything official? Again, see those links below. But when I was preparing for the show today, I did see it's still $10,000 cash. Yeah. You don't want to carry anything above that, and you need to declare that. And usually that is a question, that both border patrols or customs agents are going to ask you. Obviously, if you have a large amount of cash, even if it's under that 10 grand, you may be put into secondary screening.
Right. They just want to find out why and what.
Yep. I mean, again, they're looking for the bad guys. They're looking for the drug dealers, you know, folks. Unfortunately, I'm stereotyping. They carry large amounts of cash. For this trip, you shouldn't need to carry lots of cash. Our bank cards work very easily in Canada. ATMs work very easily in Canada.
And they all work in Alaska, too.
Yes. It's still American
It's still
money.
part of the United States.
It's funny. Some people actually think, oh, what currency does Alaska use?
Can I use my debit card in Alaska? Does it work up there?
Yeah. Right. All right. Moving on. So, Ronald, it just kind of popped down.
Did it go down by itself?
Did that all by itself. I don't think I did it.
I think we answered the question and the computer knew.
Tanya says here, I've crossed for work a few times and it's always been harder to get back into the U.S.
Yeah, yep.
I
agree with that.
They want to know why you've been gone for so long. That was us.
Oh, why we've been gone for so long?
We were young and re-entering into America. And we were re-entering, not very small border, very small border. And we were re-entering about an hour and a half from our home. And the guy didn't believe us that we just wanted to spend our summer in Alaska.
He was kind of checking our age and checking our motorhome and like, well, how can you be gone for 3 or 4 months?
Well, and he's like, how can you afford this? And
it's almost none of your business, but I couldn't say that.
No, we answered truthfully. All right, moving on. We're going to hit pet.
Is it pet time?
Let's hit pet requirements. So we travel with 2 dogs. When we first started going to Alaska, that was 7 years ago. Ooh. So they were 2 and 5.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Our dogs now are almost 13 and 10.
They've aged faster than we have.
And making sure that they are healthy is very important to, I think, any animal lover, dog mom, cat parent, whatever. And taking care of them is important when you're RVing to Alaska. Now, entering Canada, all that's required is that they are up to date on their rabies shots and that they are healthy.
Right.
Now, when I say they're up to date on their rabies needs to be
valid within
30 days. It cannot.
It can't be newer than 30 days inoculated.
Correct. So say you're leaving on May 1st. You need to make sure you get your rabies, not your pet's rabies shot, updated by April 1st.
Right.
So you have that 30-day
a month
window
prior to crossing the border
of the rabies shot to take effect.
And then on the other end of that, you want to make sure it doesn't expire within 6 months. Is that's the same thing? No. Rabies isn't the 6 month thing too?
No. They just have to be.
Okay.
They need to be in the window of being
good.
Valid.
Yeah.
Now, the little dangled tag is not acceptable form of proof of rabies shot. You need to have the rabies certificate that the vet gives you on paper. Now, Canada, have they ever asked for the dog's documents? I don't think so.
I don't think so. They've just asked for the rabies certificate.
No, that was the U.S. up on top of the world.
That was top of the world, yeah.
So again, Canada is actually pretty easy. Just make sure they're up to date on.
But the law states that they need to have rabies vaccination prior to crossing the border, even though we've never been asked.
Yeah.
You still need to have it.
You just
because they can.
You got to have that paperwork.
They have every right to ask you for it.
Now, Alaska, folks. Now, this is
a big
great
question mark.
Debate.
Oh my gosh!
Everybody thinks they're an expert on that, and let me tell you, I am an expert on this part.
Wow!
I've had this debate for 7 years with people. The state of Alaska requires that you also not only have your rabies up to date, which shouldn't be a problem because you needed that for Canada.
Need that protection anyway.
But Alaska goes a step further, and you do need a health certificate for your babies. A health certificate needs to be issued within 30 days of entering Alaska. I'm going to say loosely 30 days. Now, here's what really happens, folks. When you go to your vet and ask for a health certificate, they are going to give you a piece of paper saying your fur baby is in good health. They're going to give you that certificate. You're going to put it in your folder with all your other documents and go off on your merry way. What you don't realize is your vet has also then transmitted that certificate to the state of Alaska veterinarian to let them know, hey, these people are coming within 30 days.
And they have completed the vet check.
You are in compliance. Now, you're traveling. Oh boy, we spent 40 days in Canada, maybe even 50.
Right, well, it's just worth it. I mean, geez, Canada's amazing.
Canada is gorgeous.
So take your time.
Take your time. Do not rush. You
Enjoy
have already completed your requirements.
Don't let that pet certificate hold you up into spending a little bit more time in Canada.
But I will let you know, and guess what? The U.S. border agent is not going to ask for that health certificate.
You know why?
Because he's federal.
I know why. Yeah, he's a federal guy.
He doesn't care about Alaska state laws.
Well, he does, but he's not there to necessarily enforce the state laws right now.
Yeah, okay. I'm talking about pet certificates.
Right.
But he may ask you for that rabies certificate again. But keep in mind, once you've gone to the vet, they submit that health certificate. You are in compliance with the state of Alaska.
Right.
Again, I have dropped a link down below in the video description to the Alaska State Veterinary Office showing this law. They do this because Alaska is a huge canine loving state.
Oh, I mean, all the mushing dogs.
We have so many working dogs, and this is a very important requirement to keep our own pets healthy up here.
Now, when we had the situation with Spirit and Seward, we took her to Midnight Sun in Anchorage.
Yes, we went to the emergency clinic.
And they actually asked us, did you have your health certificate done?
Yes.
And they found proof of it within the records.
Yes, so
and I believe they weren't going to treat her unless that was the case.
I don't know about that, but they definitely asked us.
They definitely asked.
It was in August, so we had already been in state for almost 3 months at that point, well beyond the 30-day period, but they still wanted proof that we took the dog to the vet before we made our journey up here. So, folks, I know it seems like a hassle, but it's for your baby's health.
It doesn't hurt to get them checked out. Just make that appointment, get them checked out. Easy.
And if your vet is charging astronomical prices,
go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else, because I've heard of vets totally gouging people. I know our vet in Spokane only charged us $50 per dog. That's cheaper than a regular checkup. And everything was taken care of. But, you know, everyone will say, oh, I never do it. Don't worry about it.
But you never know. You have that one situation where your dog gets sick and the vet that you take the dog to has to certify that you had that checkup done.
And just remember, by doing that, you're helping keep our population of our pups and cats safe up here. So
Yeah.
anything else on dogs or cats? I'm sorry, we're a dog family. Not trying to discount the cat lovers.
I mean, birds. People brought birds up too, but it's just
If
not
you
as
have
easy.
exotic animals,
It's difficult.
It is difficult, especially birds. There's been an avian flu going on, so extra scrutiny on them. Again, there is a link down below in comments to a video that we did in 2019 about traveling with your pet and preparing. And that has all the information in the world. I mean, we deep dove everything about traveling with your pets.
Leave your chickens and donkeys at home. They don't need to come with you. You know.
Also, your packaging, your food, dog food, cat food packaging. Leave it in the original packaging, or have it right there. If you like, we put it in a not bear proof, but smell proof container,
airtight container.
We kept the bag and stuffed it in there until we made it through the border.
And with that, they really want to see where the product origin is on that food. They want to make sure it's either from U.S. or Canada.
Speaking of that, should we move to food?
Oh, that's a big topic, yes.
Let me just make sure.
Questions?
Do dogs have to have the metal tag? Is the certificate good enough? We don't put tags on our dogs, but we do have the certificate on paper.
Right.
In folders.
Their tags are in their files that we have.
Yes. So just because I don't want to hear the jingle, jingle.
Yeah.
And poor Sophie, she's so little,
that little tag weighs her down. It's bigger than she is.
But thank you for that question. RV goes on the road again.
Oh, good.
Actually, Goss. I bet you that's her last name.
Goss is the last name?
RV Goss on the road again.
There you go.
That's a cool name. All right. So moving on.
Okay.
Food.
Food is a good thing.
Prohibited items such as food, liquor, and cannabis. Ugh.
Oh, it's over dramatized, but it is Canada can do they have their list of restricted items. They're not going to necessarily ask for you to empty your cupboards of every one of those restricted items.
I think it's mostly the U.S. again.
Yeah.
That is more strict. But basically, what they don't want, tomatoes, what they don't want, they're mostly strict on fruits, vegetables, meat, poultry, and eggs. Mm-hmm. Your meat needs to be packaged commercially and origined from the United States, which isn't bad. I mean, that's not hard. If you shop in a U.S. grocery store,
your grocery store label will be perfect.
Mm-hmm. I do know we have transited with game meat. It's something everyone stresses, and it's really not that big of a deal, especially if it's frozen. If the meat is frozen, they're not too worried.
Not worried about that. It's more the fresh.
It's the fresh stuff, and it's foods with seeds. They basically, both countries want to protect their ecosystems. There are diseases in both countries that obviously Canada doesn't want our germs, and we don't want Canada's germs. And so that's how they control it. Mm-hmm. The past couple of years, we have been dealing, as I said, with an avian bird flu. So they've been really hammering down on chicken.
Yeah, they'll have their focus, and it'll change. I mean, chicken can be a broad focus, but every week there'll be a narrowed down focus on something specific.
Every day.
Right. They'll have an item that they don't want.
So they may be given a directive by their higher ups saying, well, today's focus, we're going to take everyone's eggs. Mm-hmm. And then maybe tomorrow it's
apples. Apples are a big deal across the border. So yeah.
So
don't do it.
Again, I've put a link to Canada to their food restrictions. I did print off.
Yeah, I saw that you printed off that, and they list products by weight and how much and quantity, how much you can have of all this and that.
There's not a lot of true restrictions other than what we mentioned.
Mm-hmm. They break it down by fats and oil and infant food, and guys,
don't
go crazy with it.
I'm going to let you know too. I'm going to just be honest. Canada's official government website about all this is so confusing. They send you in circles and you just have to keep pressing links until you find what you're looking for.
So did you link any of this stuff in the bottom of the
I
video?
did.
Okay.
I did. So I've linked what it will take you to food for personal consumption.
And that's the biggest.
biggie.
That's the biggest thing.
Personal
Consumption is
consumption.
huge. You know, you're not transporting food to sell somewhere else. This is the food I need to get through Canada to Alaska.
Exactly. And just keep in check of what's going on in the world. Like if there's a lettuce outbreak, guess what? That's probably going to be banned.
They're going to confiscate all your lettuce.
All right. Alcohol. Let's go to alcohol. There are limits that you can take both.
There are written limits, yes.
Both into the U.S. and Canada. Most people stress about Canada.
Again, it comes down to I have this amount over. You know, I have 5 bottles of wine. I'm only supposed to have 2, but I'm letting you know that now, and it's for my personal consumption. The worst they could do is charge you. Is it a tariff or
It's a duty.
Duty. They can charge you a duty for that alcohol.
We have always just been honest. So here's what is allowed duty free. So you can bring in 2 bottles of wine up to 53 fluid ounces each per person. So with
I guess if
2 people,
we can be 4 bottles legally.
Yes.
Or duty free.
And
which isn't very much.
For liquor, you're allowed 1 large standard bottle of liquor they count a standard as 40 fluid ounces or 1 in a 14th liter.
Right, which is basically one of our 5ths, but the 1.5 liters wouldn't work.
No,
the 1.5 won't work. So they're allowing us to have 1 bottle of
per person.
That's not enough for me.
Well, you can always shop in Canada.
Well,
that's
and
another
do
thing,
it,
guys.
yeah.
There's grocery stores in Canada.
Hey, Canada has some good booze too.
They do.
They have some good
They do.
good whiskeys and
Good beers.
Some of their beers. Oh,
Moving on to beers, approximately 24 cans or bottles, and they're saying up to 287 fluid ounces.
Which is about 24 cans. Yeah,
That darn metric system.
they understand it much better than we do.
Right?
So yeah, the alcohol limits are somewhat small.
Oh, here's another thing. You're allowed to import 1 of these.
Oh, 1 of those 3 boxes.
So you either get 2 bottles of wine, 24 cans of beer,
or 1 bottle of liquor.
1 bottle of liquor.
We were always way over.
But we were honest.
Way
we said
over.
what we had. Yeah. And what we always would do too is like, well, we have a half bottle of
it's
gin.
half opened, and this is half opened, and the wine I uncorked last night. So
keep that in mind.
Just upfront and honest about it. Same with your tobacco usage, tobacco products. If you've got cigarette cartons or loose tobacco and rolling papers and all that, let them know what you have.
The cigarettes are 200 cigarettes or 50 cigars, and loose tobacco, 200 grams or 7 ounces of manufactured tobacco. I don't know what a tobacco stick is. 200 tobacco sticks.
I'm not sure either.
Again,
we
we don't smoke.
really worried about that.
So again, just be honest and declare.
And
that's your biggest.
Declare up front, and personal consumption is a phrase that we have used and seems to have worked for us pretty well.
Another thing is cannabis.
Don't.
Absolutely
Don't.
no.
No.
And that includes, folks, CBD. Now, CBD and marijuana is completely legal in Canada.
Through their federal government, it's legal.
Yes. So you can cross the border and then go find one of their pharmacies and purchase locally and use locally. But do not cross a international border, be it Alaska, Washington, Idaho, Montana, with any cannabis product. And also, this includes dog treats. So if you
Right.
give, or cat treats, if you give your pets animal CBD, no. If you have a tincture or a lotion, no, not allowed.
Nope.
Just keep it home and buy local, use local.
And it is available. I mean, it's there's plenty of pharmacies through Canada, and then once you get into Alaska, you won't have a problem.
There are some towns here in Alaska that have that do not have any dispensaries or stores.
But there's other towns that make up
But
for
there
it.
are other towns nearby, like Tok, for example. They used to have a dispensary, but they don't anymore. So I think you have to go to Northway, which is on your way in, and it is a village. And I believe they have one there. But so you just got to do your research. If that is something you partake in, you get to try something new.
Yeah. Hey, our friends have told us the Alaska stuff is pretty good, so I can't verify that, but that's what we've been told.
But just so you know, do not take any type of cannabis or
Not at
CBD
all.
for human consumption or pet consumption whatsoever.
You are crossing two international borders. You do not want to have that with you at all.
And not to call out Rose, but just so everybody sees, Rose asked, can you bring gummies into Canada?
Nope.
No, unfortunately not. Maybe see about melatonin.
Melatonin?
Yes. Or a magnesium calm. Or wait till you're in Alaska and try something locally.
Yeah, just basically no marijuana, no CBD products crossing international borders.
Correct. Dan asks, we buy our beef by the quarter. Any issues with meat packaging from a commercial meat locker?
Nope.
No, because you should have a USDA stamp on that.
Well, there may not necessarily be. We would get when we bought our beef down from the farmers down in Washington, we wouldn't have a sticker on our beef package.
No, we did. It was USDA packed.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
As long as it has commercial packaging that says where that meat origined from.
I'm going to challenge you.
Okay, whatever.
When we had 140 pounds of fish
Well,
in our motorhome that we took south with us back across the two borders, we didn't have it. It was commercially done, but we had no stickers on the fish.
fish is different than meat.
It's still meat.
I know. Well, Darwin actually asked, how much fish can you bring back into back to the U.S.?
We brought about 150 pounds.
As much as your
About
freezer
as much as your
space
freezer will
will
hold.
allow.
We had to stop fishing when the freezer was full.
We do know people that have gone and bought extra freezers to get all their fish.
That would be
on.
Sandy and George.
Now the biggest,
Dan's done that too.
Yes, the biggest thing that I can tell you is keep your fishing license.
Yes.
And if you have it commercially flash frozen and
packed.
packaged, keep the receipt from that as well. Now, like for us, we don't commercially pack with our fish now. We do it all ourselves. But we would keep our fishing license to prove that we had the right to catch that. So yeah, that's not a
it shows a line of possession. What's it called? Yeah, it just shows that you caught it, you processed it. Here's the receipt, and you now have it in the freezer.
And just going back now, I see another question about pet food. Yes, it should be in the original packaging, or at least have that original packaging available with the feed.
Yes.
All right.
And we do like the airtight containers for pet food because bears do like pet food.
Yeah.
And it offers a lot of scent. So if you store your pet food in the bottom bay of your motorhome or one of the outside bays of your camper or whatever it is, it's just better to have it sealed off, airtight container style thing.
Absolutely. If you've been on any of the RV Facebook groups, I know last week there was a post going around in North Carolina where a bear completely tore an RV apart. I think that happened probably over hours.
Mm-hmm.
That probably wouldn't happen if you were in it, but still, kind of scary. Keep your sense to a minimum, but
don't be
that's another day.
Don't be over crazy about it.
When we talk about gizmos and gadgets that we like. Okay, so we did food, we did liquor, we did cannabis. A couple of things to think about when you're crossing international borders that you may not think about is cultural items, such as a whale baleen, seal skin, ivory from a walrus tusk. Those things that you might buy at a native market, say like, I know, for example, we went up to Utiavik with your parents.
Yep, right.
They bought a whale baleen, and they, I'm going to call them out. They hid it. And
they had it in their motorhome or RV somewhere.
yes,
They
but
had it in
we
there. But
did not actually know that you are not allowed to transport
I
that
had no idea.
across the border.
No.
It wasn't until we were actually at the border turning in our visa when we crossed the border during that time a couple of years ago when the borders were closed. We had to be in the border office for quite a while, and they had a display case at Beaver Creek of all the items that have been confiscated that aren't allowed. And there's a lot of cultural items. And I was like, oh, wow, mom and dad were really lucky they got that through because they paid a lot of money for that.
And that is not well known that those items aren't necessarily allowed across the border, but it is very, very common for people to unknowingly take those items across the border.
So if you do happen to get a cultural item, you might want to, again, check on the CBSA's website of what is and what is not allowed. And if you have to, ship it home in advance.
Yep.
You can put it through the mail service, usually with no issue. But especially cultural items, that's huge.
And there are some amazing items that these native cultural centers, artists create that are well worth your time and money in purchasing, and you probably should, but just make sure that you do transport it properly.
I do love the fact that, today's generation, especially of the First Nations people, they're doing they're trying so hard to keep the arts alive that their elders have been taught over and over, generation after generation. And, if that is something that interests you, just please don't lose it at the border. Right. That would truly, and they're not going to give it back to you.
Oh no!
I mean, no, it's gone. It's confiscated.
It goes into their collection museum, or their display case.
Unfortunately,
which is a really impressive display case, which is unfortunate.
Another thing you might not think about is firewood. When you're crossing international borders, do not
state lines and provincial lines.
Yeah, even once you kind of go from a region to region. Try not to transport wood. Find wood locally if possible. That just keeps the spread of pests out. I mean, I know up here we have a really bad problem with beetle kill, with the
spruce beetles.
Spruce beetles. So that is one way that they can be transported into a new forest and spread and infect. So
it was kind of eye-opening to see how large the wood pile was at Beaver Creek when we were crossing back into Canada from Alaska. It was just a huge pile of wood sitting off to the side at the border crossing that they were confiscating all the wood coming from Alaska.
Also plants, for those of you that love plants, anything with dirt. If you can have someone care for your house plants, if you have them for your RV, or if you're a full-time RVer, have someone babysit your plants while you're on your trip, because that's another item that can be taken.
Right.
We have a question. Jorge asks, how about medication drugs for pain with doctor approval? If you have a prescription that is prescribed by a doctor, have your prescription, have the original containers. They're not going to deny that just because it's official. Now, if you go to Mexico and get your own drugs from a pharmacy that isn't specifically prescribed by a doctor, you could have some trouble.
I think they're just, confiscation mainly, but then that would put you out of the medication that you need. So make sure you have the medication you need for the travels. We do have Walmarts and Walgreens and such up here.
CVS.
So CVS pharmacies. So if you do need to get those medications in Alaska, you can. Definitely make sure. It might be more difficult in Canada to get those, so have what you need to go through Canada.
Yeah, so we have Walmart, we have Costco, CVS, Walgreens.
Target had the pharmacy.
Rite Aid.
Yeah.
Target is CVS.
Oh, yeah.
And then we also have some independent pharmacies as well. Safeway. Did I say Fred Meyer's? So there, you can easily have your prescriptions transferred up here if you can't get a 90-day travel allowance.
Right.
Firearms. I know we're running right at that hour mark.
That's almost another whole
It's almost a whole nother
deal.
live chat. Firearms, guys, I'm going to just tell you, if that is something that interests you, again, down in the description, we have linked a video where we transported firearms across the border. We've done it 4 out of our 5 transits.
Right.
And just the 5th was when we moved here and we had stuff that could not go across the border. And so we shipped it up on the ferry in our car. But if you're interested in firearms, long guns such as shotguns and rifles.
Shotguns and most rifles are allowed. If you are getting into the AR style platform,
if it's souped up, forget it.
That may not be an acceptable firearm in Canada's eyes.
You do have to pay a permit. It's I believe $25. And that allows for as many guns as you can put on the list. Again, there's a video down below in the video description that you can watch that will answer all your questions. And then if you have handguns, revolvers, pistols, things like that, you can ship them to yourself using an FFL. And we highly, highly recommend using Wolf Hawk shipping. It's alaskagunshipping.com.
He makes it real easy for you.
Tok, Alaska. And no matter which way you come into the state, you're going to enter through Tok. And you can go first stop and go pick up those items from him. And you could even ship your long guns if you don't want to deal with that hassle at the border. But it's a very simple process as long as you do your homework in advance, have all your paperwork ready for the border agent when you pull up. Don't pull up and haven't done anything, because that is where you're going to get searched left and right.
Be prepared. Even though we had all of our documentation, we had everything, and we handed him all the stuff. We were pulled into secondary, crossing into Canada, and he wanted to go into the motorhome and
just
put
verify.
eyes on the guns. And that's all he looked at. He didn't open any cabinet. He just went. I gave him the keys to the gun safes or the gun boxes, and he opened them up and verified serial numbers, he said.
So maybe we'll do an extra special on firearms if there's enough interest in it.
Yep. Let me just put one thing out there too about actually just using UPS or FedEx or something like that. That is not the way to do it. No. Both UPS and FedEx in their rules say you cannot ship firearms, period. Regardless if they're dismantled and ammunition is separate, whatever it may be, don't do that. There could be federal offenses and confiscations and fines and penalties and all that awarded to you. So just don't do that. Awarded, yes. Awarded. Don't do that. That would be a DS award. I can't say this.
I want to say it in honor of our good friend Liz. But she has an award called the Dumb 3-letter word starting with an A and ending with an S award. Don't do that.
Don't get a DA award or a DS award.
Oh, that's funny. So maybe just know if the topic comes up on the group page, I will so nip it in the butt.
Those quickly. Get scrutinized very quickly, very tight. Gun topics are important to follow.
I have built a firearms guide, and it's linked again down below that you can go through to learn exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and everything. So, and that should that goes into the fact that if you have any questions that you really want one-on-one with us, Gary and I would love to work with you one-on-one
Right.
with our consulting and do a planning session. We do offer discounts with anyone that has had
Prior
the
military.
honor of holding a badge.
A badge, military, law enforcement, however it may be.
Fire or
Fire.
EMT. We just feel being able to provide you one-on-one service sometimes is the best to
Right.
get those questions really
We
hammered out.
can't answer every possible scenario in these Monday Night Lives. But if you guys have something specific and you need to talk and want to talk about us, talk to us about it. We're here for you through the consulting services, and we can spend a good hour or a couple of sessions, 2-3 sessions with you, and drive down everything from crossing the border, what's best in Canada, what to see in Alaska,
What tours to
tours
take.
to do, what tours to skip, so we can help you plan the trip of your lifetime.
Another thing to let you know about is we now just put it up on the screen. We have a new website for our annual rally,
Oh, good
the
deal.
Rendezvous. And that is up and live. More information will be coming out in the new year, but we are super excited. We're going to be returning back to Tulsona
Right.
Wilderness Campground.
That was a great campground. We had such a fun time there.
Yeah,
Yes.
in Glen Ellen. We're going to do it the week of July 21st, Sunday through Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that if you're coming up to Alaska in 2024, that maybe you can carve out 4 days. Come join us.
Right.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
There's going to be
So-
limited tickets available.
Yep, we've bought out the campground, so
Mm-hmm.
we're a little. What am I trying to say? We have the ability to put more than campsites because we do have a couple of group
Right.
areas.
Yes.
Where people that are willing to boondock.
But
you
there
can do
are
that.
there are full service sites available, and
Yep.
those are the limited
Those will
ones.
go fast.
Yes.
And then, as always, we have
With a new
our-
decal. If you put it the right way, they can see it better.
our RVing to Alaska 2024 stickers.
Look at that, guys. That's awesome.
We have it both in the exterior, and if you want a window cling, it's hard to see because obviously you stick that to a window.
A static cling inside.
There's a protective cover on
Yep.
it. But we have those available, $10 each on our website, rvingtoalaska.com/store.
This is your way to find other travelers, other RVers on the road. When you're parked in a campsite, you see a sticker, we would encourage you to go knock on their door or leave a note so you can get together with them and have a good time. Maybe have a drink or just sit by the fire or a walk or whatever it may be.
And it's another way just to support us.
Right.
We realize that, we don't have a Patreon or a membership program like that. It's just a way to show community pride and meet other people on the road.
We're trying to help you guys establish community on the road because we know this is a long trip all by yourselves, and it's best made with friends on the road.
Yes. And I tell you, some of our RV2AK friends,
Oh, yeah.
they've truly
They've
turned
come together.
into family.
Yeah. We've
Lifetime
seen
friendships.
Yep. We've
So,
seen a lot of friendships develop from this.
just looking at last minute questions.
You got something else over there to show off?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We have cups.
These are the silicone cups. You know, the little squishy things. They don't break. They're RV friendly.
And if you're a note taker, we have a notebook too.
Yeah.
And lots of other merchandise. We have
Right.
shirts, we have other stickers, we have coffee cups, we have flags. I mean, and if you think of an idea that you would like for our merch shop, let us know.
Right.
I'll look into it.
How about some whiskey cups? Well,
You can drink whiskey in that.
it has to be from glass.
Glass isn't very conducive with RVing. So, couple questions. Patty asks, "Hope you're well. We are great.
Oh,
Thank
we are doing
you.
very well. Thank you.
I heard that moose meat can be sweet or tough and stringy. Do you agree or disagree?"
It depends on the animal. Yes.
She's asking moose.
I know.
Well, it depends if it's old or
An
if it's
old animal,
young.
a young animal, how much
How
strenuous
it's
life it's
prepared.
been, and the preparation, how it's been hung. There's a lot of factors with that. And the answer is yes. It can be all of that.
But it is also one of our favorite meats. We've rarely eat ground beef now. We have ground moose.
It is 100% natural, 100% natural meat. You're not going to find any meat that's more clean than that. It's great for you and plentiful up here. Well, I'm not going to say plentiful. It's hard to get now because anyway.
Okay. Well, it's plentiful, but there's a season.
But they're hard
It's hard to get. Yes. Linda Lewis asks, would medication bottle labels be sufficient? Would medication bottle labels?
Well, I believe so because that has the medication and that has the prescribing doctor's name on it with a phone number. So if they would have a question, then the border patrol agent or border crossing agent could answer.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, you're not going to carry away your paper. You're not going to carry around your paper prescriptions. It just needs to be the bottle with your name,
Yes.
the prescription, medication, prescribing doctor, address, and phone number.
Yes.
And that's all on there.
Even if you have to go in for a refill and say you go to the pharmacy, you take in your own bottle, they may have to call your prescribing physician and verify that he will refill it.
And that is the best way to carry your medications is in their own pill container.
Especially when you're traveling.
Yeah. I know a lot of times we put together our daily meds in one of those weekly containers. You put all your meds for one day in one thing. Have the bottles available.
Yeah. Well, and if you're coming up for several weeks or
you're going to
months,
have bottles.
You're going to have the bottles anyways. Linda also says she's definitely interested in another chat session on firearms.
Good.
So we may make that happen. I have heard.
What's the question?
I've heard that your shotgun has a pistol grip. It cannot be brought into to Canada.
That's not well. Okay, so
I would check.
I would check that. We do have a little 410 shotgun with a pistol grip on it that we did transfer. We did travel with us in 2017.
Oh, that's my little one.
Your little
right?
410, yeah. And it has a pistol grip on it. It was allowed, no problem.
So regulation may have changed.
Yep, but do your own homework. It was in 2017. We did it. In 2024, who knows?
Do you have experience with anyone crossing in states like New York or Michigan headed to Alaska? We had a few last year.
Yeah. Now, Madison's over that way. No, he's not. No.
Madison's in Texas and Colorado.
Yeah. Who was over there? Anyway.
There were, put it in search in the Facebook group. And by the way, Facebook group, RVing to Alaska / the original.
That's the one.
I do know a few. Most people, though, do tend to cross in the West just because gas prices is more economical crossing the country in the U.S. versus in Canada.
Yes, that is correct. However, if you would like the experience of transiting through Canada, then traveling, I can see crossing in New York. And we wanted to do that too ourselves at some point, is cross through the Trans-Canadian Highway.
We've heard some friends of ours transited across Canada this past summer. They actually came to Alaska that way. Mm-hmm. And they said that they had a really hard time boondocking anywhere in Canada until they got into Alberta. That's when it became more boondocking friendly. There just wasn't places to pull off and even like sleep on the side of the road, like a rest area.
So I know there was some conversation about that last year. So,
yeah.
I mean, so maybe in the search.
If you're a serious boondocker and don't want campgrounds, it might be harder. But I mean, honestly, we've never been outside of Alberta to the east, so I don't have experience of answering that.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully the search will provide something.
All right. Well, I think the questions have, let me just do a quick glance here, but I think I did a good job of catching them as they came. I really want to thank everybody. We had a really great time. 2 weeks ago, we were up in Fairbanks at the Alaska Travel Industry Association's annual conference. We got to meet so many awesome companies and businesses that solely deal with tourism in the state of Alaska and some in Canada.
Oh yeah.
We made
yeah,
a
you
really
betcha.
great contact up in the Yukon. Dylan, he runs
Yes.
the equivalent of the ATIA for the Yukon up there. And we just had a blast. And we hope to really establish some great partnerships for you guys to help benefit you and your travels, places to go, stay, and just learn more about Alaska.
Adventures, what to do, where to do, and who to go to.
Absolutely.
The recommended ones, we're going to try to pass to you. Normally the recommended ones are the better ones. The ones that have proven track records.
But there were some great new businesses.
Oh, there
too.
are some great new businesses.
Yes.
Absolutely. And they are well proven
And
themselves.
even with ourselves being such a new business, it was just nice to get our face out in front of all the big guys and say, "Hey, look at us, we're here."
Right. Hey, we're
Don't
here.
forget about our RVers because they're just as important.
Competing with the cruise ships.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really opened our eyes how much the
cruise industry
the
in
cruise
Alaska.
industry affects all the tourism businesses. Yeah. But guys, I was there advocating for you guys, saying, "Hey, these RVers, they are here all summer long.
Right.
You can't forget about them."
And they put out stats about how much each person spends on a day while they're in state, and they're mainly focusing on these cruise people. They're spending X amount of money a day. Well, you guys are coming up here for 2 to 3 months, and you're spending that same amount of money each day for that much more time.
maybe not on laundry day, but
So you guys do mean that much to this state as well.
Yes.
So, come up here, enjoy our state, and we want you to have the best experience possible. And we want to help you do that.
Yep. And I'm glad to be here to be your advocate.
Absolutely.
So.
It's a great place
and
to
you
be.
Too.
I try. I mean,
too.
she's an important part.
All right, guys. Well, 2 weeks,
weeks.
we're going to talk about Canada. And I'm going to just quick rundown of what I have on the schedule.
Upcomings.
We're going to talk about like Canadian money, credit cards, exchange rates, metric systems, converting winter tire and chain requirements. If you're one of those early
Early or late.
arrival,
I would suggest more late than early.
we're going to talk about their awesome provincial and territorial government
They have some
campgrounds,
very nice parks.
and some highlights, what not to miss as you're transiting up.
Layard Hot Springs.
We're going to talk about their beautiful national parks, some Northern Lights information,
September.
and medical services and insurance needs and stuff like that. If gosh forbid something happens, you know what to do.
Yep.
So thank you again for being a part of another Monday Night Live. Thank you for all 32 of you that stuck past
all
the
the way
hour.
through the hour. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. I know we were hitting good numbers in the middle there, about double that. So
Good
thank
deal.
you
That's
all.
good to hear.
And we hope to see you again in 2 weeks. And as always, every day on the Facebook page.
And now, real quick, this is not just live. It will go into YouTube archives. It'll go
Yes.
into YouTube playlist.
Yes, you can always rewatch if you missed the live. It's always lives forever on our YouTube channel.
There we go.
So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Take care, guys.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.